Well, I know why I was happy about this grand final. That I was going to
Stop on that.
No Victorian teams.
Yeah, the cockpit is something that
And the horse you rode in on. All right, guys, we're going to kick off with some Formula One. I think the name on everybody's lips at the moment is Daniel Ricciardo. It's sort of a sad ending. It looks like an ending. We haven't had anything official yet, but he did manage to go out with the fastest lap, which was, a nice little cherry for the veteran Aussie. But Mertz, you were covering it all live.
so there's so much, just like a flood of many emotions and feelings and exhaustion, and the cockpit is something that
We haven't actually had the official word, but everyone seems to think this is the end. So how do you sort of wrap it all up?
Yeah, even Daniel seemed to think it was the end, everything that he was saying. It was pretty sad. It was this morning it was the video of him getting out of the car, and he put his gloves up on the thing, and he just sat in the car, and he just like pulled the wheel off and just sat there. That got me, of like how he knew that this was the end. And I know it hasn't been officially announced or anything, but to go out with the fastest lap, I guess puts a bit of lipstick on the pig that was the race that he had, because it was diabolical, the strategy that RB's had for him. And I know that he was starting in 16th anyway, but my God, on softs, pit him in the 11th lap, and then mediums, and then chuck another set of softs on, and then go for the fastest lap at the end. Like it salvaged something out of just a horrific day. And Daniel just didn't deserve to go out that way, if this is the end, of course. But yeah, it was just everyone seems to think it's the end, including Daniel.
Well, and you've just said the perfect word. He didn't deserve this. Red Bull have royally f***ed this by, again, not having the stones to come out and make a decision. Everyone, when the old saying is, where there's smoke, there's fire. There wasn't smoke. The house had burnt down. Everyone knows, and Daniel himself, even after the race, from that getting out of the car to his interviews in the little press sort of area where he was fighting back tears, were just heartbreaking to watch. This is a bloke who has put blood, sweat, and tears into this sport for 13 odd seasons. He's given everything to Red Bull. He's fought to try and get back to the top of Red Bull. And this is how he's treated. Like, get absolutely f***ed, Red Bull. This is a PR disaster from them. If Lawson, like the contract saga is that he had to be given a seat for the final 5 or 6 races, whatever it was, just come out and say it. What's the harm in before the race saying, yes, unfortunately, this will be Daniel's last race in the V-Carb for this season, and what happens next season, we don't know. That would have been way better, because then fans could have shown their love to Danny Rick throughout the weekend, but yet they've just left Ricciardo and all of the fans just being like, is that it? Is that it? Is that the end? And then we get to the end of the race and we see all these scenes, and it's like, well, it's blatantly obvious that that's it, and yet still nothing from Red Bull. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, it has been handled pretty poorly. I think they'll say they've got the reasons why, they can't confirm anything. They'll need to see how the next few races come out. Maybe Danny races again before the season's out. We don't know. But sorry, boys, cry me a river about poor Daniel Ricciardo. This bloke has had 2 or 3 more years than he should have had to begin with. I mean, he never should have left Red Bull in the first place. I think Christian Horner probably, he's always sort of felt like he was the one that got away, or he never should have left, or he never understood why he went to Renault, whatever. So he brings him back into the fold and hope that maybe he could reignite a bit of that magic or get him back in Checo's seat or whatever. But, he wanted to be the man, so he left. He didn't want to be underneath Max. They were sort of putting all their eggs into Max's basket. Fair enough, whatever. And he's shown what he's done with 3 world titles. But, the Renault move didn't work. The McLaren move, apart from 1 race win, didn't work. He'll never have to work again because he certainly made money from the moves that he did. But what do you mean? What does he deserve? Like, there's only 20 blokes who get these seats. he was done a year and a half ago, and a couple of decent laps in the RB backup, and he gets another year or two out of the sport. I think you're overstating what he deserves out of Formula One.
I think you're the two people who have kind of made F1 what it is right now. Your favorite people, Gunther Steiner and Daniel Ricciardo, because they are the dead set stars of Drive to Survive. They're the only people who are at all interesting, who have any kind of personality. And for what Daniel has done for the sport, like it's not 8 race wins. It's not a third in the 2015 championship or whatever. Like that's not what he'll be remembered for. He was the personality. He is the person who has dragged F1 kicking and screaming into some kind of mainstream currently, when there is such fragmentation of all the different sports out there and you can watch everything however you want to watch it. Like, what Daniel has done is pretty remarkable. Like, for his career, like I think he has done remarkably well. And going back to the Red Bull, like him leaving Red Bull, everyone keeps talking about, oh, what a mistake and everything like that. Well, as you said, the money definitely helps, makes that go down a bit easier. But why not take risks? Why not do something to try and actually make your career? The Renault move, I don't think was a bad one, honestly. Like and I might be very unpopular opinion here, but the Renault move, he got that dragged. Like, look at where Alpine are now compared to where they were when Daniel was driving it. Sorry.
Yeah, but hindsight's a beautiful thing, Mertz, and he wouldn't have known. Like, it's fair to take a risk, but he was winning races before he left. And think
about where he was at Red Bull, where Red Bull was when he left. He had 8 retirements from mechanical issues. They were going to an untested engine with Honda. Sure, it worked, but it was a gamble whichever way he went.
Yeah, it was. And like I don't think he's going to look back and be like, I should never have left, because I think the Renault years weren't as bad as we make out. They weren't as successful as his Red Bull ones, but I actually think the 2 Renault years were probably better.
The second Renault year was good.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just think for a bloke that has done so much in the Red Bull treating him this way over this Singapore Grand Prix weekend was absolute dog shit. And the real kicker is we now have a month off, and then we go to Coda, which is Danny Rick's favorite track, where he is arguably the favorite of the crowd in that. So it's like Checo got to keep his seat because of the Mexican Grand Prix money, but they're going to axe Danny Rick right before Texas, where he basically is Formula One.
Honestly, the Checo thing is the worst part of it all. Finishing 10th, doing nothing. He just showed once again what a waste of a seat he is. It would have
been nice to see.
Daniel with that one point has done more than Checo has done all year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's funny you bring up Gunter and Danny Rick. And look, they were the only guys that wanted to be involved in Drive to Survive when it first started. Most of the teams were like, fuck you. We don't want to be part of this thing. This sort of, this bird's eye look into everything that's happening behind the scenes and all of that. But there's only 8 guys this year that have got podiums, right? So there's 12 guys that are basically irrelevant. Among the Ocons and the Gaslys and the Magnusons and these guys, obviously they're great drivers, don't have the best cars, however you want to put it, but they're not really relevant. We only talk about the top 4 or 5 guys that are winning races, getting the podiums, having a chance of getting pole. And Daniel's not one of those guys, and he hasn't been for quite a while. So I do get the popularity side of it. I also think that's what's got him a drive the last couple of years more than anything else, certainly more than results, is, bums on seats and popularities and popularity and
money.
And what he generates. And you're right about Texas riding in on the horse with the big Akuba and all of that we won't see in 4 weeks' time. But I don't think he's really deserved anything. I think he's got a lot out of the sport. He's given the sport a lot. He's got a lot back from the sport. If this is the end, he's had a great career. He could have been a world champ if things had worked out differently, but he won't be. He's not the first Aussie or the first driver that'll say that. But I sort of wanted him to go for a while because I don't want him to be competing for 12th. If he wanted to either be going for podiums or don't be in the sport at all.
All right, gents. So the other big one from the weekend was bit of boxing news, and Daniel Dubois, I guess, sort of made a mess of the heavyweight boxing division by knocking out Anthony Joshua, and not just knocking him out, really dominated him for 5 rounds. JD, what the hell is the state of boxing right now?
It's not good, Jimmy. Boxing is not good. To be honest, it's a bit of a joke, and it's particularly in the heavyweights. And it's really sad to see. I mean, we're talking about a sport that for most of the 20th century was one of the top 2 or 3 sports in the world, particularly in the United States, but other parts around the world. And the Muhammad Ali's and Joe Frazier's and Rocky Marciano's and through to probably Tyson is around when it probably started to tail off, were among the biggest, most influential, most important sporting figures we had globally. It's just become a bit of a joke. The interest level has gone down so far. We've had someone come along like an Anthony Joshua that you hope, he's got a bit of charisma and you hope he's going to kind of reignite the passion for the heavyweights. Part of the problem is the amount of bloody belts that they've got. So back in the day, they all wanted to prove they were the best. So the best heavyweights wanted to fight the other top blokes, get the belt and say, I'm the true heavyweight king of the world. Now they don't have to. They can just get their own belt, hang on to that, make plenty of money, and avoid these big fights that could kind of ruin their legacy. I mean, Joshua, you could look up how many times he's talked about fighting Tyson Fury. He's never fucking done it. And now, who knows, it probably will never happen. Tyson Fury is the closest thing we've had to kind of that personality and the charisma and all of that. But I still don't know if he's really cut through to the mainstream like the older guys did. I think he's got pretty close. And he probably hasn't had that rival as well. Like Usyk's not, the easiest guy to sort of get behind either. I listened to Dubois speaking after the fight, and I just thought, he's 27 years old. He can box. Let's see if he can talk. And I heard him in the ring afterwards and went, oh, shit, no, that's not great either. So whether he's going to have the personality to sort of bring everyone together and reignite this sport. So it's just sad. Like, the world's changed a little bit with combat sports anyway, but to me, it's just really sad to see where the heavyweight division in particular is, and where do we go from here? I don't know about you, Mertz.
The issue has been that these 4 guys have been sitting on these belts for however long. Like AJ, it's so disappointing to see what he's come to, and I think that even when he had the belts, he didn't have hard fights, and obviously beat Klitschko.
That's the only one for me.
That's what he's got.
Yeah.
Beat Klitschko, but then do you know any of the other guys he fought? Like, even I remember watching him, and it was just he did it easy because he wasn't fighting anyone.
I remember ones like Ruiz because he lost. Yeah, that's why.
And that was a giant shock because no one expected Andy Ruiz to do anything.
No, it's like Danny DeVito getting in the ring. That bloke.
Yeah, but it's just like these guys are just sitting on the belts, and then as you said, they're not picking up the big fights. And then when they do, it's taken 2 years to be able to organize anything. So you've got stagnation underneath. Dubois won the British title in 2019, and that was the first time I'd really heard of him. And at that point, they were like, yep, he's coming up and he's ready to go. And yes, he lost to Joe Joyce, and yes, he lost to Alexander Usyk. But he's been there for a long time, and then they're just wasting these guys' career. And I know he's only 27 and all that, but he's probably the exception to the rule, because there's a lot of guys who, like Filip Hrgovic, he was looking fantastic early in his career, knocking everyone out as easy as you could. He doesn't do anything.
Haven't heard from
inactive.
him. Where's he been?
He's inactive. Yeah. Well, until he lost to Dubois.
But it's just
just
the whole. It's what we're seeing across every division is these guys get a belt in their hands, and then they just run their mouths at one another, and it just spirals on and on in the contract talk. We saw Tyson Fury after Dubois knocked out Anthony Joshua, pissed off in the stand, saying that's just cost me $150 million. The fight should have been 2 years ago, not coming up in 6 months' time. It's just.
Oh no, it wouldn't have been 6 months. It would have been 6 months' time until he fought Usyk again, because that's December, and then it would have been a year later.
Yeah, I love Tyson Fury and what he's done, and he's tried to bring that sort of both sides of the sport, not just the flair in the ring, but outside as well. But fucking hell, it's a mess. There's far too many belts to start with, and these blokes are just so scared of tarnishing their records that they don't want to face off against these other top tier blokes because they want to keep that 40-1 or 32-0, whatever the fuck they've got. Just go back to one belt in each division and just have a king to rule them all. It pisses me off.
But even when they brought in interim titles, and everybody gets a belt, and magazine titles and all the rest of it, it's just gone to shit. There's too many belts, and every now and again we get the prospect of a unified fight, and it's like, holy shit, there might be one guy that holds like 4 of them. It usually falls apart. Just from an Australian point of view, I don't think the Saudi Arabia thing's helping us a lot. It's with the time zone and sort of getting up for some of these fights. They're just getting so much sport they're showing over there these days with the sports washing, which could be a whole other show. But it's just really sad. And we just need the characters and the personality. We need the villain. It's like the old wrestling thing. You need someone that you hate or, just a reason to really get behind these guys. And when Fury retires, I'm worried for, where are the personalities? Where are the guys we're going to get behind? Well, I'm just old enough to remember I was about 10 when Tyson kept beating people within 30 seconds and knocking them out. And everyone just got so excited. And his fights were such a fucking event. It was huge. And then towards the end of that, him and Holyfield, and then a bit of Lennox Lewis. And then that's really, since then.
Yeah.
It hasn't had the same.
Tyson was fighting every 2 months or something like that. He was so active, and they're just so inactive nowadays.
It was just Donald King was just squeezing every last drop out of him.
Yeah. God, yeah, he was.
Oh, yeah, but even going back to the Muhammad Ali stuff, he was not afraid to lose, and none of those guys were afraid to lose, and all these guys are afraid to lose, so that ruins their reputation. Well, Muhammad Ali's still number one, and he has he had heaps of losses. Yeah. But they wanted to fight the best. If you say George Foreman's the best, and I've got to fight him, now it's like Anthony Joshua. You say Tyson's the best. Well, I can keep my belt and keep my millions over here. So why would I tarnish my legacy? Just a quick one to finish, lads. We've got the AFL Grand Final, a non-Victorian AFL Grand Final this weekend.
You had to say it, didn't you?
First time since 2006. But anyway, just going to get a quick prediction, Jimmy. What are you expecting in the game?
Swans to be too good. I'll go Swans by 17, and give me Chadley Warner for the Norm. The Chad.
Love it. Mertz?
I reckon the Swans, I reckon it'll be pretty close though. I reckon it'll be within 2 goals. And Isaac Heaney to make up for his Brownlow loss.
Yeah, I like it. Look, I was lucky enough to be at the 2012 Grand Final, Sydney Hawthorn, which is the best game of footy I've ever seen because different teams are on top at different times, momentum swings and all of that. I think this one might be like that. The Swans are getting off to those slow starts and whatever. As a Swannies man, I don't know if I can handle another grand final loss. So I really, really need Sydney to win this one, but I think they will. I think they're the best team. I'm actually stoked the Lions got in for some reason. I can't really explain why. I'm just glad it's not Geelong, Sydney again. So I hope it's a cracker of a game. And I'm with you, Mert. It's very hard to go past Heaney, and he's had such a good final series. It'd be nice for him to top it off and kind of show that maybe he is the best player in the comp.